Welcome to Get Up and Tie Your Shoes podcast, the inspiring, motivational podcast to get your day started the right way. Our goal is to keep you educated, encouraged, and empowered because, let's be honest, the world is lacking women empowerment today, and that is our goal and our focus. So today, for our first episode, I'm so excited to have one of my great friends, a childhood friend, actually, even though we're only 29, wink, wink, and now career lady, awesome, real estate mogul, in my opinion. We have Miss Brittany Austin here today with us from Brittany Austin Co. And so today we are talking about a lot of different things, but I wanted her to be our special guest because Brittany comes with a world of knowledge. She has created her own brand, her own way of selling real estate, and her own way of doing things in today's society, which is a lot different. And if anybody knows me, you know I've never wanted to fit in a box. I always say I don't even believe in boxes. I think we should all be our own person, no matter what that means. So super excited to have you here today, Miss Brittany. And last year, Jesse and I sold one of our investment properties, and Brittany helped us with that. So I had seen your work afar, and of course helped, market and promote and share on social media and all of that. So you didn't just become a real estate agent just all out of the blue. You had a whole career kind of leading up to this, and I don't think a lot of people know that Brittany Austin Co., which is your real estate company located in downtown Kings Mountain, that was a vision and a God's vision and a dream that came to fruition. But let's rewind. So we're not scared to talk about age. I'm 40. You're 35. So married, 2 kids. So we know where you're at now. But tell us about where you started and how many years ago it was, and what prompted you to move into real estate?
So we are going way back, way back. All right. So graduated from Kings Mountain High School. I have a bachelor's from Liberty University. And my husband and I got married young. I was 18 years old. Is that not crazy?
Really?
Yes.
I didn't know you were 18.
I was 18.
I remember seeing your pictures on, I think it was MySpace then, remember? I
think
it was MySpace then, yeah.
So, and that's funny because CJ and I were having the conversation the other day. We met on MySpace. We went to school together, obviously, but we started talking on AIM. Do you remember AIM? Instant message?
For you young folk, that's when you heard your computer go, well, it's like kind of like the you got mail, you got mail, but it was like Messenger, Facebook Messenger.
And you had the away messages. Remember the away messages?
Oh, yeah. And then you were like in MySpace, if they were in your top 5 friends, then you were something, let me tell you.
Okay, let me ask you this. Do you remember your like, what do you call it? Like your username? Like, do you remember your name on Instant Messenger?
I think because at a young age, at 19, I started working in television. I think mine was News Girl Jen KM because I'm from Kings Mountain, North Carolina.
Y'all are going to trip over mine.
What was it?
Y'all are going to trip. Mine was, I'm embarrassed to even say this, but this is for a good laugh. Mine was KM's Cutie with a Booty.
Oh, boy. I also own a marketing company. This is going to be fun for Christmas presents this year.
Absolutely. So, anyways, CJ and I met through there. He came back from college. Like I said, got married at 18. He was 21. And, y'all, being so young, we were broke. Y'all, we were just broke. And I bought my first house at 19 years old.
Wow.
I was making $12 an hour, if that tells you anything.
That wouldn't even buy you a McDonald's Happy Meal
it wouldn't buy much of anything right now. But we bought a house on Cleveland Avenue out in Grover, and we were just so happy. We were broke, but we were so happy out there.
In love.
Absolutely. And so pretty much for us, we had a lot of debt. We were young. We were stupid. We had over $30,000 in credit card debt. And I was like, we've got to figure something out. I worked at a chiropractic office in Belmont, so I was in healthcare for quite a few years.
I remember that now.
Yeah. So
I had forgotten about that.
Yep. So worked in that environment, loved the healthcare industry, and I did pretty well with that. But it was one of those things where I knew we needed more if we were going to pay that debt off. So I got started in the direct sales industry. I was with a company called It Works Global, and I saw somebody posting about the wrap, and I was like, man, I got married, I gained a little happy weight. So I'm like,
the stomach wraps,
yeah,
right?
Yeah, stomach wrap. So I was like, I need to lose a little bit of weight, tone some skin, so I'm going to just jump in. And guys, that was just the biggest blessing for me, and it turned into something where I wanted $500 a month. I knew that if I could earn $500 a month, I could take that money and put it towards credit card debt.
So that was the goal. I'm going to do It Works. I'm going to make $500 a month.
Yep.
And together we're going to use that. We're going to pay this debt down.
Yep. And God just had so much greater plans than I had. We were able to pay that credit card debt off in about a year and a half.
Wow.
So we were able to do that. I actually came home from my full-time job in healthcare within 2 years.
Wow.
And after 4 years, we were able to bring CJ home to do it with me.
That's impressive.
And so we were in the top 150 income earners for the entire company out of...
And that's a global company,
That's
not just
so
here in the States.
We were able to grow a team. We had a team in Australia, Canada, all over the United States. We had over 10,000 team members.
Wow.
And so, it really started there for us. And we had such success. And ultimately, that's how I was able to grow my social media platform.
Right.
And so, that business was such a blessing. And till this day, even though I'm not I still have that account and I still use the products, but I don't actively do that business anymore. But it is one of those things where I could never say anything bad because of the fact that I would not be where I am today if it wasn't for the knowledge that I gained from working in that business.
And was that what helped you go to the John Maxwell School? Or was
Yes.
that something different?
Yes.
Because I remember that part of the
Yes,
journey.
I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah.
So I actually ended up getting a certification for training for John Maxwell. If you guys don't know who John Maxwell is, his books are fabulous. But anyways, I was able to get that certification, and so I've also got that. And I'll be honest, I was in direct sales for 10 years and I loved it. But I'll tell you where I got my last 3 years, I got to where I was struggling because people are lazy.
Well, and people, I think they have, when you're on the outside looking in, people have their own ideas. They have their own opinions of multi-level like marketing groups and things like that. And you didn't care about that. You had built your own brand and built your own way, and a little girl from Kings Mountain with all these people on her team. And that's one of the things, I don't know if I ever told you, probably didn't, but that's one of the things I really respect about you is you're like,
I didn't care what anybody had to say.
Screw that.
Yeah.
And that's where I am. I'm real, I'm transparent. What you see is what you get. If you don't like me, guess what? I don't care.
You have to be that way as an entrepreneur.
Absolutely,
you really do. To
or
have
you'll never
success,
make it.
no, because nobody is ever going to. You're not going to be able to agree with everybody. Everybody has different, goals and opinions, and it's just how it works.
What's the saying? Nobody that is doing better than you is ever going to look down on you and tell you you're doing something wrong.
That's right.
So, with that said, people that are not doing as good as you are the ones that are going to be putting you down, and that's going to be the chitter chatter.
Yeah.
And I'm at a point in my life, and I think you are as well. I don't care. Yeah.
I'm going to do me regardless.
That's right.
So, like I said, after 10 years, God had really laid real estate on my heart for about my last 3. And it was just something that I had prayed over because here's the thing for me. I had some fabulous team members. I mean, there are still girls. Like I said, I still have my account that's active. There are still people that's out there that have retired their husbands and they're still doing this full time. And I think it's great for them because like I said, I love that part of my life. But for me, I got tired of having to try to make people work.
And now we're saying that fast forward to 2024, we're in a society, and I'm sorry, young folks, I feel like it's young folks, it's a little bit everybody.
Yeah.
I have 2 children and 3 dogs and a father and a husband that I don't mind pushing in the right direction or marketing clients.
Yeah.
But I refuse to be your mama.
No.
And tell you need to get up and tie your shoes every day, and you need to get up and be a big girl or boy and work and earn money. And I think that's probably kind of where you were at too. You
I
just get tired of
was.
momming everybody.
Well, I got tired of people complaining. They would come to me and they're like, I need to make $500 too because I can't pay for my groceries or I can't pay for my house payment.
Yeah.
But then when they got into it, they were lazy. They didn't want to do the work. They wanted me to do the work. When I'm already busting my butt.
That's
I'm
right.
already doing all the things. And I'm trying to teach you how to have the same success that I've had. And so I got tired of that. And so when real estate really came on my heart, it was one of those things where I was like, I know that if I get started in real estate, I can make an income and make an impact based off of who? Me.
That's right.
I know my hustle. I know my drive. And I don't have to pull people along. And that's what I got tired of. And so, but
it slows you down.
It does.
And it also, I think too, as a wife and a daughter, because I know you're really close with your family like I am, and it becomes toxic. Yeah. And you become a person as you grow. The goal is, as you grow, to say, you know what? I don't need toxicity.
No.
I need peace. And if something you're doing, whether it be a person that you're communicating with or work or whatever, or some of these mom groups, we'll talk about that later, you've got to just say, I'm done. I'm not doing that anymore. I've got to cut off the toxicity because it drags you down.
You do. And I just, like I said, it was something where I was finally like, you know what? I need something else. So I took my real estate exam, or took the real estate exam. And this is the craziest thing. Y'all know I'm all about social media. Okay. So I was going to type up my post for social media. And I stopped, and I was just in tears. And I was like, what are people going to think? What are people going to think? Because I have built this big brand around direct sales and around it works. What are people going to think with me doing something else? Are they going to think I failed? Are they going to think that I was a phony? What are they going to think? And I almost did not start real estate.
Really?
I was in tears. I almost did not start. But finally, I had to remember what I coached and I trained on, because, guys, I literally would get on stage and train with 1,000, 5,000 people. Like,
Absolutely.
train people how to run a business through direct sales. And so,
but it's still that inner mindset and brain that I think, I don't care who you are, even if Kobe Bryant talked about this before he passed away. Even if you're at a point in life where you're the best to everybody, you're the world's best at basketball or real estate or what have you, there's a little bit of that insecure, fearful child that you were at one point.
Absolutely.
That's still inside you. And he had talked about that on some of his Mamba mentality stuff. And I think there's a lot of truth to that.
There is. There's a lot of truth.
That in itself, I didn't know that. Yep. That is remarkable. And from a faith standpoint, I feel like that's the devil going, he knew what you were capable of. And he was trying to stop you in your path.
That's right.
And God was like, nope.
And I had prayed specifically before I really got into real estate. I had prayed specifically, God, I need you, if this is what you want for me and my life and my family, because I was stepping away with a husband this was our income. It Works was what we did. That's how I fed my kids. That's how I paid my house payments. And my prayer specifically was, God, if this is what you want for me and my family, I need you to make this business bigger than my direct sales business. That's what I need from you. That's for me. I'm one of those people, I try to get very specific with my prayer life, because I feel like when you're like, God, tell me if you want me to be into real estate.
Kind of like when your husband says, what do you want for dinner? And you go, whatever.
Yes.
And then he goes, do you want this? And you're like, no.
Yeah, you have to be very, and you know what? It's easier for me to be specific with prayer than it is for me and CJ to figure out what we want for dinner.
Same here.
Jeez,
that's like not an argument,
the worst.
But it's a back and forth volleyball match.
Yeah, so it was one of those things where, like I said, it was hard for me, but I just knew that if God led me to that, that he would make it bigger than what I already had. And that was big for me.
Yeah.
And so I jumped in, and I've been in real estate about a little less than 3.5 years.
It seems like so much longer.
Does it
though,
not?
Right?
Does it
to
not?
To me, it seems like it's been 30 years because you've done, and like you are a testimony of saying, and that's why I wanted you as the first guest. I had the vision for Get Up and Tie Your Shoes. It was a God vision in April of 2019. We're talking about 5 years ago. Yeah. I've had this logo. I've had this vision. God, like my mom thought I was crazy. She goes, how much wine did you drink last night? I'm like, well, that's not really, that doesn't really matter, Mom. But I was like, oh my God, Mom, I was up cleaning the house and drinking wine, and I had this vision, and it's going to help women. And, I was in like I was in the darkest place of my life, and my girlfriend Randy, and I know we're going to talk about like law and real estate in a second. She's one of my best friends. She's actually an attorney for a very large corporate bank. And I told her one day, I said, oh my God. She's like, what did you do today? I was going through depression. I was going through anxiety. I was going through stuff that nobody talked about. And I thought that, like, if you said you were depressed, that meant that you didn't want to live anymore. I didn't realize what depression was. I didn't realize it. And I think that's why God allowed me to go through that storm and through that fire. I was like, all I did was get up and tie my shoes today.
Yeah.
And she's like, oh my God, Jen. Oh my God. And then Riker's preschool director, Lisa Medlin, she and I were like good friends, and we were talking about it because she'd overcome cancer and a divorce and this and that. And it kind of just grew. And so I look at it, and now we're sitting here doing something I've talked about. And then the real estate, holy smokes. Like, I know you're not going to sit and say it because you're not arrogant, braggy type of person. But let's say best of the best 2023, right?
Yeah.
And all of these accolades that you get, and in my opinion, if somebody doesn't like you or your style, there's probably some jealousy in there, because anybody that's worked with you, and I have worked with you, and girlfriend, did we not go through some hurdles, as we'll call them? But and my mother was dying. Yeah, she was at hospice when we closed on our house.
Yeah.
And I mean, now it's been 10 months, and I can actually say that without crying, but you know, coming from me, like, you don't find, she wasn't just a realtor.
Yep.
You were never just a realtor. You were my friend. You checked on me every day. You were there, and you were there when some of my family wasn't even there.
Yep.
You were there when some of my friends who I thought would be there weren't there. And I think that's the mark that you've left in the real estate world so far in these 3.5 years, is you are the trusted, knowledgeable person that knows this. You know how to market their homes. So let's talk a little bit about that. I was in law school for a couple years before the law school closed, so I did not get to graduate.
Yep.
A lot of people think real estate's just easy and, oh, there's so much money. They don't realize the law aspect, the class,
liability,
the exams, the liability, everything. So let's talk about that for a minute. So you have this vision, you take the real estate class, and what comes next? Which test do you take next?
And let me throw this in really quick before we get back to that. So it's funny. I was somewhere in Kings Mountain one day, right around the time I got into real estate, and I had somebody say, I was talking to such and such the other day, and told them, or they told somebody that they needed to hire you to work with them in real estate. Yeah. And they were like, that girl don't know nothing about real estate. She's not going to do anything. And so it's things like that
drive
I'm like, all right, we'll see.
Well,
what I really want to say is,
too.
okay, bet. It's just, so back to like what was the question on the liability type stuff?
Yeah, so you take, because I'm not super familiar with it, to be honest. So you take a class, right? Yeah. Now, I'm licensed in insurance. You take a class, and then you take different exams. How does it work in real estate?
So you take a class through like a CE. There's one called CE Shop. You have Superior. There's different classes that you can take. You take that course, and you have to pass an exam to get out of that course. If you don't pass that exam, then you have to take the course again.
Ooh.
And so
it's lengthy, right? How many hours?
Yeah, so it's about a 75-hour course.
Ooh, yeah.
So you take that, and after you take that and you pass it, then you have to go and sit for your national and your state exam. And those are hard. I mean, straight up, those are hard. I know a lot of real estate agents that just don't pass those. It takes multiple times.
Yeah.
You are cramming in, tons of liability into a very short, like 6-week class. And it's very strenuous in terms of all the knowledge, because there's liability. You're having to learn about easements and just all these things that you're learning about.
Structural components, things like that, right?
Yeah, about roads and, how you can get sued and all these things that you have to know, and you have to go take an exam on that quick, and you have to be able to retain all that knowledge, because you don't know what they're going to ask on those tests. And so you have a national test and a state, or national exam and a state exam that you have to take. And now you can take it, you can take it multiple times until you pass. But once you pass those, and I'll say this as well, they say that getting your real estate exam is about as hard as taking like the bar exam. They say it's right close to it.
Well, and I think I was telling telling you, one of my good friends, he was a former NFL player, had gotten hurt. He was in law school with me. He's actually licensed up in Connecticut, but he took the real estate exam, and he's like, I failed miserably. Yeah, he had to take it again. And some insurance tests are like that too, because again, you have, that's why you have E&O insurance. Because, you know, you might make an honest mistake.
You might make a mistake.
But with you saying that, that's another reason that I think so many people need to be knowledgeable of who you're using for real estate, because if they don't know what they're doing, that is not only a civil liability for you as a realtor, but also the client.
Because can I just say this, and I will, you know, it's one of those things because of the fact that obviously we're professionals, and obviously I would never say names. But guys, in terms of real estate and hiring an agent, you are hiring someone to sell your biggest asset.
That's right.
Whether it's $200,000 or $1 million, you are hiring someone to sell your biggest asset. So when I have somebody that comes up to me and say, oh, well, I hired such and such because she just got started in real estate. Here's the thing. Everybody has to get started somewhere. I totally get it. Everybody has to get started somewhere. But it's one of those things where I'm like, I work with some of these agents. And y'all, when I posted a meme on Facebook, listen to this. I posted a meme on Facebook on my story the other day. And it said, the real estate agent that beat me out of a listing is now on my real estate page asking me how to write up a contract. Because it happens.
Yeah.
And I come in contact with so many real estate agents that I'm like, how do you have clients?
Yeah.
You don't know anything about a septic. You don't know anything about mold. Like, there's just all these different components and things that people have to know, but also communication.
Well, and I can relate to that from a firearms standpoint, because my husband and I own a firearms company. We're a firearms manufacturer. We do training classes. We do, you know, women classes, youth classes, CCH classes. And when I have somebody that says, oh, I took a class in Charlotte and I was there for 3 hours and I didn't even qualify, I'm like, like I cringe, because that is what hurts the qualified people. And to be honest,
it does.
In both of our professions, that's what hurts people from the uneducated folks, and then it affects everything. It goes from a small to a really big area.
But my thing is, you really do have to interview your agents.
You do.
Ask for reviews. Ask for other clients that you've helped.
And with Brittany, mark my word, you don't have any problems finding testimonials or positive reviews. I personally don't know of any negative reviews that you've had, because you put your heart and soul, you sell that home as if it were yours.
Yeah, absolutely.
Or your mom's.
My biggest thing is I'm going to treat my clients like family.
That's right.
I'm not out to sell lemons. I'm not out to just make a buck. And there are so many agents, you know, being from Kings Mountain, being in a small town.
Yes.
The agents that I work with and the horror stories that I hear from people that a lot of people know, it just makes me sick.
Oh, I had my own horror story years ago, and it's really hard for me to like conceptualize that now, knowing what I know all these years later. And I'm like, I mean, you know how we are in the South, you know, bless your heart, right? So, faith, making a difference, being a good mom, being a good real estate agent, being a good wife, being a good daughter. Tell us how how your faith has gotten you to now, and where do you see yourself going in the next 3 years?
I'll say this, being in real estate and being a producer. So like we mentioned earlier, I won Best of the Best in 2023, Best Real Estate Agent. And then between the last 2 years, you know, I've done between 17 and 20 million in sales the last 2 years.
That's awesome.
It's a lot of work. And so when I tell you that I have to make sure that I take time,
that's right.
I'm a workaholic. I am. I
don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
That's all we do, right?
I love working.
I know,
People will be like, what's your hobbies? And I'm like, working. Like, I just
What do you do at night?
Yeah.
Work. What do you do in the mornings? Work. What do you do on vacation?
Yeah. And people don't understand it. Like my sister, she's like, I don't understand how you're okay with your phone. Or even my clients, when I'm like negotiating a deal. I had a client, I was at a closing the other week, and she said, you just were working on Sunday trying to get our house under contract. I'm like, when you sign up for real estate, that's what you sign up for,
That's
you know?
right.
And so, but it's, you know, it's one of those things where I have definitely had to step back. And really, that's been a big goal of mine for 2024 is to just step back and make sure that I'm not just working so much that I'm working my life away and my kids' life
right.
away. I'll say this, for 2024, when I tell you it started off where I'm like, Jesus, what are you doing?
I know, I've been singing Jesus Take the Wheel, but I don't have a Carrie Underwood voice. It's been like that.
January 3rd of this year it's a date that I will always remember, and it really just rocked me. But now it's what, February? What's today's date? February.
February 8th. Is it the 8th?
I look even just a month in, a little over a month in. I'm looking back and I'm seeing what God's done,
right?
And I'm so thankful for it. But this year is definitely something where my goals were to have more time with my girls, to have more time with my husband. We just started going back to my childhood church and to get more involved with church.
Right. And to community. Because you already do a lot in the community.
Yeah. And to get more involved with like my kids' school and things I already do. But also be able to delegate tasks. So I just hired
That's so hard.
It is. And when we're type A, we want our hands in everything. And I don't like to let things go, but I just hired a transaction coordinator. Yep. And so I really feel like doing little things like that is going to allow me less time for like the paperwork and that busy work, but more time with like my girls and my husband and things like that. So I have really just had to learn,
I think that's as a woman and as a type, like you said, successful type A personality, it is very, very hard. I did it several years ago. And she did an amazing job, but it's hard for me to not touch it. Because it's your baby.
It is.
And it's your reputation.
And you want it done a certain way.
That's
right. And you think nobody else can do it like you.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's something that I am having. So I hired one. I'm going to try her out and see how it goes. And hopefully, so far it's going well. But then if for some reason that doesn't work out, then I'll go to the next. And so it's definitely been a process. But it's one of those things where if we don't do things like that, then really at the end of the day, we're going to work our lives away.
That's right. That's exactly right.
And so I'm really trying to get better at that this year. So,
well, I think you're doing an amazing job.
Well, I appreciate it.
I think you are getting up and tying your shoes. People go, what the hell does get up and tie your shoes mean? Brittany Austin is a walking, talking example of that because success starts with every step. So in the mornings when you get up, you got to lace up. It doesn't matter what you're overcoming, what fears, what anxiety that you have. God tells us not to worry and not to be anxious in anything and to pray about things. So, lace up, step out, and make each day count and get up and tie your shoes. And I just want to say thank you so much to you. Be sure to look her up, Brittany Austin Co. She's actually located in beautiful, historic downtown Kings Mountain, but she can work with you wherever you are. So I think you're a great example for your daughters and for other women and people that maybe feel stuck to know that there are options out there.
Absolutely.
So thank you for joining us for our first episode. And as we stated, today's actually the 8th of February, but my mother who passed away from cancer, last April, her birthday would have been February the 18th. So you guys are seeing this today, February the 18th. And I wanted to be able to launch this first episode on what would have been her birthday because she was my greatest inspiration for me to get up and tie my shoes. So have a great day. Put that first step forward and make big things happen, guys.